welcome to APT Beyond the Classroom podcast. I'm Allison Pattison, and we are super excited to have David Farrow, who is the Deputy Chief of Police in Goodyear, with us. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us about the Blue Envelope program. So before we get into that, I would love for you to give our listeners just some background information about you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But first, before we go into that, I just want to say thank you. I really enjoy having the opportunity to talk about programs such as this and really get some of the awareness out to the people who just may not be aware of these types of programs, and they can be very beneficial to them.
Absolutely.
So very excited about that. As you mentioned, my name's David Farrow, and I currently work with Goodyear. I've been a police officer for about 28 years now, 28 years in January, the last 4 of which have been with Goodyear. And one of the things that we've really strived to do and to get better at is programs dealing with people on the autism spectrum and other neurodivergent conditions, developmental disabilities, and the like. We've brought a significant amount of training to our department to really increase the awareness.
Yeah.
Within the last year, our department was actually named an accredited center, autism center, with the training that we had gone through, getting all of our people up to date with a class on autism. And what it really does is gives us an opportunity to have more positive interactions with our public.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for your service for all of those years. So I know kind of what we wanted to focus on today talking about is the Blue Envelope program. And so if you wouldn't mind sharing the purpose of the program, we'll start with that, and then I've got a couple other questions for you.
Okay. So as we all know, I mean, autism is a pretty well-known condition, and that's kind of what we're focusing on here with the Blue Envelope program.
Yeah.
Even though it's well-known, there are still a lot of gaps in education and awareness.
For sure.
What the Blue Envelope program is it's very simple. It's a blue envelope that you can carry in your vehicle. And it serves as a visual reminder and a visual clue to both the driver and an officer that may encounter that driver.
Okay.
The blue envelope is very easy to use. It's basically just a storage facility for you to put your driver's license, your registration, your insurance, and so you have all your documents in one particular place.
Yeah.
And what I really love about the blue envelope is having looked at it and seen it, is it gives a very distinct narrative about, as the driver, what can you expect during a traffic stop or a contact with the police? And for the police as well, for those that aren't aware, that don't know what to expect. It gives you a list of things that may or may not happen during a contact with somebody who's on the spectrum or has another issue going on. It's a very nice and succinct way of looking at it. For a person who has no idea what to expect, it gives you some very key points and things to look for.
It's great. So where can someone pick up the blue envelope?
So there's a host of facilities where you can get it throughout the state. First and foremost, they're available at every Arizona Department of Motor Vehicles facility.
Good.
There are a number of police departments throughout the valley. East Valley, you talk about Apache Junction and Chandler. West Valley, Avondale, Buckeye, at their police departments, you can go in and request one of these envelopes. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has them available at each one of their facilities.
Okay.
Also, a lot of the third-party license and title vendors have them.
Okay.
There's a list, and I think we can put a hyperlink into the podcast.
Yeah, and I know we were talking before the show, and I would love to have Arizona Provider Training be one of those sites that people could pick up the envelope. So we're going to look into doing that.
Right.
Awesome. So when an individual has the blue envelope that they pick up, where are they keeping it? Where do you guys recommend that they keep that envelope?
I mean, ideally, you want to keep it somewhere where it's readily accessible.
Okay.
The easiest spots or the easiest places that come to mind are obviously the glove compartment.
Right.
Perhaps above the visor where the driver is.
Okay.
Most cars nowadays have some kind of storage compartment either in the door or next to the driver's right leg. Any one of those spots. It really doesn't matter where it is as long as the driver remembers where they've put it.
Right.
And it's easily accessible.
Okay. And so is the information confidential?
Yes. That's one of the great things about the program.
Okay. Yeah.
Is anyone can go into any one of these facilities and request the blue envelope. There is no paperwork. There's no documentation. They're not taking your name, address, date of birth, anything like that.
Okay.
Nobody keeps this information in a database. So, we talked about this before we started. I have an 11-year-old son on the spectrum. He probably never will drive. But if he were to, I would simply be able to walk in and request one of those envelopes on his behalf.
Right. Okay. And so are they giving any medical information?
No.
Okay.
No, it's very confidential. There's no questions that are asked. There's no information that's requested.
Okay.
It's pretty simple. You walk in and say, I've heard about the blue envelope program. I'd like to request one. Yeah. There you go.
So in Arizona, are most officers familiar with the program? It's a statewide initiative? I know you were talking about that it was kind of modeled after a program in another state. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So to my knowledge, the first program such as the blue envelope started in Connecticut.
Okay, Connecticut.
And
okay.
We in Arizona are kind of modeling the program after what they did. If it works, let's use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of the pioneers in Arizona were the Arizona Department of Public Safety, in collaboration with the University of Arizona, the University of Arizona Police Department, and the Department of Transportation.
Okay.
And because it's a new program, it obviously takes some time to get the word out about what it is, not only to the motoring public, but to the police officers themselves, who are naturally the other part of this equation.
So when did it start?
It went live earlier this year. I don't know the exact date.
Okay, so fairly new then, just 2024.
Within the last year. It's somewhere within the last 12 months or so.
Okay.
But what we have done in law enforcement to try and get the word out to our officers is there have been training sessions put on in all four corners of the state.
Okay.
A short training class where you can go and you learn about what the envelope is, what it says, what it does, how it's supposed to, promote positive interactions between drivers and police officers. And as part of that training were actual interactions with people producing the envelope and going through the steps and giving people some hands-on experience on both sides of the fence.
So it's likely then that all of the officers in Arizona would know what that blue envelope is.
All of them is a stretch.
Okay.
But I would say a pretty significant number have got that in there. Most of the departments, my department, we put it out on social media. We put something out throughout the department.
Okay.
So even those that weren't able to attend the training at least have some
know
general
about it.
knowledge about it.
Okay.
And like we kind of talked about before, if this envelope is placed in your hand, it's fairly easy to walk through and look at whether you're the officer or the motorist, and you'll figure out what it is relatively quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So if someone, I know the answer, but if someone has the blue envelope, they still can be cited.
Yes, they can.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
So the purpose is just to have that information in the envelope and the kind of conversation, that the officer knows, okay, I've got this blue envelope.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, what we talked about before, it's the idea behind this is to make things a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Traffic stops, contacts with police for the average citizen, they're usually, you get kind of tense, right? When you see, I can tell you that when I see a police car driving behind me with the lights, it makes me double check and see what I'm doing and make sure that, I'm doing the speed limit, I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. So for other people who don't have typical, and I go to work every day with cops, right? I'm surrounded by them all day.
Right.
But they can still have that effect on you.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to mitigate is we understand that the uniform, the badge,
The anxiety that comes.
the equipment that we have, and the
Yeah.
anxiety that can produce in the average citizen contact, it can be really amplified for somebody who's on the spectrum or has a developmental disability. And what the shining light in this program is that it's just trying to make that contact a little easier.
Yeah. How has it been going?
As far as I know, I've not heard any negative contacts about it, any negative inferences.
Okay.
The people that we've sent to the training themselves, they were grateful to go and to learn part of this program. And there's really that's really a theme with, I talked about at our department, we've really done, I think, a very phenomenal job of training and interactions. As I mentioned before, we are an autism certified center. We have had at least 2 rounds of training that have come from outside the department into our facility and gone department wide. We had
That's so amazing.
The first one was a couple of years back. We brought in the Be Safe program, and we had an instructor come in from an East Valley department, and we broke our department into about 15, groups of 15, and did 7 or 8 different renditions, and had everybody come through. And I'll tell you what, the stories that you hear, I have mentioned before that my son is on the spectrum, but to learn the sheer number of people in our department that have a direct contact, a direct family member, or 99% of them know somebody that's on the spectrum, and it's really widespread, more so than I would have envisioned, early on. But after that training, we brought in a second round, and we had everybody go through this process in this program where we became that certified center. And above and beyond that, we've developed relationships with groups like the Sounds of Autism and First Place AZ. I don't know if you're familiar with either or both of them.
I am, yeah.
We've had probably, I think, 3 interactions where we've brought 15 to 20 officers to First Place AZ and had 3 to 4 hours of interactions and running scenarios with some of their members. And this past year, it was nice. We brought them to our department.
Oh.
And we had 15 or 20 of their people come to us. We did kind of like a show and tell.
Yeah.
We walked through some basic scenarios. One of the big ones that we always do is what happens when you're involved in a traffic stop, or a traffic accident, or you get lost. How do you approach a police officer and communicate with them? So I'm really proud of those efforts and what we've done in the West Valley to kind of address this.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing this information. Thanks for your service. Thanks for all that you do for our community.
Yes.
Is there anything, just as a final parting thought, that you want to share about the program, about
Well, again, I think this is a wonderful idea. It's so simple, right? It seems like anybody could have thought about this at any point in time, and you just put a piece of paper together. Blue is a very well-known representative color of the autism spectrum. I think it's a phenomenal idea. It's very simple. And who knows how many positive interactions it's going to lead to in the future.
Absolutely.
One is enough.
Yeah, right? It is, for sure. And just that's why we wanted to have you on. Our families, our direct support professionals that we train here at APT. I know just in conversations I've had with some of them, they hadn't heard of this program. So the more we can get that out and more people involved with it, the better. So just really appreciate your time and coming on to talk about it. And we'll include the links in our bio about where people can find these envelopes.
Yeah, and again, I think it's great that you guys are going to look into doing that and becoming a disbursement point for those. And again, if anybody's looking for it, we'll put a hyperlink in there. But you contact the ADOT Motor Vehicle Department, and that's how you kind of initiate the process. But we'll get that information out.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for watching. And we just hope that you enjoyed this information. Thank you so much.